Ooh, Matthew, you hear that?
Yes, I do.
You hear that?
Oh, you bet I do.
You know what that music means?
It means it's snack time.
Oh, I'm sorry, what?
Oh, yeah, I mean Variety Viso.
Yeah, there we go. Variety Viso. Yes, we're back. We're back. And this time, we got good news.
We got good news and bad news.
We got good news and bad news. Matthew, what are we reviewing today?
We're reviewing Daredevil Season Trace.
Oh my god, did you just say Daredevil Season 3? Are we reviewing a TV show for once?
Yes, we are.
What? That is incredible. Chris, what do you have to say about that? Chris?
It's sure good.
Chris, Chris? Matthew, where's Chris?
I don't know. It's dark in here.
Oh, damn it.
That was just my really bad Chris Duffy impersonation.
That was really bad. Yeah, unfortunately, Chris died. No, I'm kidding. Chris was a loser and decided to play Red Dead Redemption 2 instead of watching Daredevil Season 3. What a nerd.
Yeah, what a person who knows what's hip and cool right now.
How dare he have a great time with one of the best video games this year, possibly in the decade that gaming has been going on for.
You get
or
to dual wield.
Yeah, but Daredevil, man.
Daredevil's pretty cool.
All right, so yeah, let's just get straight to the point. Okay, I guess he's with us here in spirit.
that was me. That was me.
Okay.
I did something with the chair.
I was about to say, I'm like, maybe he actually did die and his ghost is here trying to tell us something. Yeah, unfortunately, Chris is not here with us. He's not fired. No, he just didn't have time to finish Daredevil Season 1.
Yeah.
So
he's that far behind.
He's that far behind. Yeah. He told me he hasn't had the chance really to watch the show, and I told him like, well, I mean, if you somehow catch up within the next few days, you're more than welcome to come on the review. And then I told him he's always welcome on. He just felt like, well, I'll just be sitting there not saying a damn thing. So I'm like, all right, whatever.
There is value to someone not having seen the thing everybody's talking about, because then we get to sell it to him.
Yeah, true. Yeah, no. Unfortunately, he's just kind of busy today with classes and everything. So I just told him, I'm like, Matthew and I will take care of this, Chris. Just don't come back next Wednesday. Like, you're fired.
You're gone.
Chris, if you're listening to this, you're perfectly fine. Do not worry.
You're out of the clubhouse. Turn in your badge. Turn in your apple juice.
No.
You're out of the treehouse.
You're still in the treehouse. You've just been demoted.
Yeah.
You were a co-captain. Now that's Matthew. Now you're just you're the janitor of the crew now. You got to clean up every mess. So you got to come up and clean up the studio. All right, before we waste any time, though. But yes, we are, for once, we are reviewing a TV show. We're just reviewing Daredevil Season 3 today. Both Matthew and I really have time to prepare for Castlevania Season 2. I didn't even get a chance to start it.
I finished it last night.
And Matthew didn't even get, like, notes ready and everything, which, when you're reviewing a TV show, you're going to need that.
Yeah.
It's not like a movie where, like, you can probably do everything off the top of your head, but with a TV show, when you have like 6 hours of content to dissect.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that I didn't take notes on Castlevania as I was watching it. I made my notes that are right in front of me for Daredevil like earlier today. Yeah. So, but the point is, I have notes, so I'm prepared.
Yes. So we're just gonna review Daredevil Season 3, but we're also gonna. I figure we'll attach a little early impressions. Did you get Red Dead 2?
I have not yet.
Okay, well, I'll give you my impressions of it.
Can't
you can
wait.
you can tell me like if you have any questions about the game and whatnot. I'll address everything of like how far I am into the game once we get to that segment. But yeah, so today's gonna be another short episode like it was last week with our Halloween review where it was just the review. It's just gonna be Daredevil Season 3, and then we'll go into my early impression of Red Dead 2, and then next week, we have this next Netflix movie I want to check out. It says, I think it's called The Night Comes For Us, I believe.
Yes, I believe so, yes.
It's made by the guys who made the Raid films, and if you're familiar with those movies, they're pretty freaking awesome action movies. So I'm excited to watch that. I will be seeing Bohemian Rhapsody. You're welcome to go see that on your own. Unfortunately, when I'm going to see it, I will be seeing it with my dad because it's his birthday weekend, and that's the movie he wants to go see. Maybe I'll go see it again with you guys if I have time next week. But if not, if you want to see it on your own time over the weekend with like your family or friends, go right ahead. Okay. I'll tell Chris the same thing. But for sure, the Night Comes For Us will be our review next week. And then possibly we'll also talk about Bohemian Rhapsody as well as some other articles. And then the week after that, Overlord comes out. And I definitely want to review that. And then I think the week after that, we'll review Red Dead 2. I think that will be enough time.
Perfect.
And if you end up getting it, I'll even extend it another week.
I can't imagine myself not getting it some point in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I'll probably split the cost with a friend because I'm kind of trying to save a little bit of money for my trip to Japan in the spring. So
I don't blame you. That's going to be an exciting trip. Also, another bit of news too about our show is we're going to start streaming. We're going to start doing some gameplay streams. We got some people on the sidelines that want to join in the show, and we're going to be testing the waters with them over the next few weeks before. Well, we have another big news. We're going live. We're going to be live on air. For those of you that do listen to us over YouTube, we'll now be able to listen to us live on the radio. We are college students. We have a college radio station, FM 89, WONC. You can find it on iHeart if you don't live in Illinois. And if you live in Illinois, you might be able to pick up our signal, basically. But if you can't, go to our website, WONC.org, or iHeartRadio, FM 89. But we are going to be a live show. Does that mean the podcast will stop? No. Highlights from the live show will be posted on YouTube. And then we're going to do separate recordings as well. We'll do spoiler discussions, because we're going to have big movies starting to come out around that time, such as Captain Marvel, the second Avengers movie, Aquaman, stuff that, we can, go into further what we really thought about. And just talk about spoiler discussions. And then stuff we eventually just don't get to. We can just do short 30 to 45-minute recordings, and then our main meat will be our live stuff. But we're going to start experimenting with a lot of content here because, well, the best way I've always seen channels grow is just try different types of content and keep experimenting.
And since I'm going to be out of town for about a week or possibly two, hopefully just one, because I don't like to be away for too long.
Yeah.
I'm going to be out of state, so I might record some funny, weird stuff for just to play on the show. It'll be my updates from my cruise in Florida. So
hello, I'm on the Titanic too, and everything's going horribly.
Everything's going very bad.
All right, we're 7 minutes in, and hopefully somebody didn't click off by now. Let's get right into it.
They'll just watch the highlight. Talk about one thing this podcast.
I'll make a highlight reel of the Daredevil review. It won't be the whole thing, but I'll choose a section of it. But let's get right into it, Matthew. The devil of Hell's Kitchen, Matthew. He's back.
Oh boy. All right, I should clarify my history with the
Go right ahead. We got a whole minute of intro.
Yeah, with the Marvel Netflix universe. So I, like everybody else, watched Daredevil season 1 when it came out, and I was like, wow, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a nice little origin story, got me hooked and excited for more. Sure enough, Daredevil season 2 comes out, and I'm like, oh, this is even cooler. This is even better. It was a masterpiece, in my opinion. Jessica Jones season 1 saw that, and I was like, this is pretty cool. There were a couple of things in terms of characterization that bugged me, but those were just kind of issues I have with a lot of, Western dramas series. And then from that point onward, I kind of just didn't watch anything else. I didn't watch any of Luke Cage or Iron Fist.
Good for you.
Didn't watch Defenders. And
good for you again.
And so then and didn't watch Punisher, which I hear Punisher is good.
Oh, you didn't watch Punisher.
So I will be watching Punisher in the future because I like Punisher and I like Karen Page.
Let me know when you do that. I wouldn't mind actually doing a retro review of it, going back.
I would love to do that.
Because I thought, and once again, that could be stuff we do on the podcast as well. That is something I thought was completely just forgotten because we had 2 shows back to back that kind of just killed the mood for everybody. We had Iron Fist and then Defenders, which was really disappointing. That when Punisher came out, I remember a lot of my friends, they didn't watch it as soon as it came out, and I had to beg them. I'm like, no, you don't get it. This one, they're kind of back on track. And then
we had Luke Cage season 2 came and went. I didn't know it was coming out, and then it was like, oh, it's out. Yeah. And then I actually heard people giving it some bad reviews. So I was
one of my friends watched it who has been liking a lot of the Netflix shows, and he told me the first half of season 2 is not that good, but the second half of season 2, so from episode 6, 7 onward, it's way better. And it's just the first half of it is really bad, though. He told me. He said,
okay.
I guess on the variety Viso scale, he told me about a C. Okay.
So now we're here with Daredevil season 3.
Yeah.
And I was very excited because for the first time I felt like I had to watch one of these. It was the first time in a while. And Daredevil, I'm probably going to say this a couple times. There's actually further down on my list of little bullet points on my notes, but this is still the best Netflix. This is still the best Marvel Netflix series.
Dude, okay, I'll preface it with this before we go any further with the review. You finished this, right? You finished the season?
Mm-hmm.
I'm halfway through the season, and I can completely agree. Season 3 has just kicked so much butt. I don't know if we could say the A word. I think so.
Well, let's just play it safe.
Okay, let's play it safe. All right. I mean, it rocks. Like season 3 so far has been fantastic. And I enjoyed season 1. I loved season 2. Season 2 was my favorite of the Marvel Netflix shows. And I'm not going to lie, when I was going into season 3, I was a little worried because of how everything else has been up to this point. I'm like, damn, I don't know who the hell left at Netflix's Marvel division, but apparently they took the creativity with them because Punisher was like the last good thing. Season 2, Jessica Jones wasn't the biggest fan as much as I loved the first season. Luke Cage season 2, I watched the first 2 episodes and I just immediately turned it off because I was like, yeah, this is really bad. But I'm going to try watching it again. I didn't even bother with Iron Fist season 2. I don't care. I tried watching that first season. I could not get into it, and I was annoyed by his character in Defenders. I'm not even going to bother with that show since it got canceled now. So coming into this, I was worried that, oh, man, I'm really hoping this doesn't go the same path. But, man, Daredevil basically came in and just basically said, let me take control again. Let me just be the captain here. Let me show you how all this should be done, you guys. Because, like, it feels like the Daredevil creators still know what they're doing at Marvel with Netflix. They still have a grasp of, like, okay, this is how Daredevil should be. This is how we write this character and everything. Because, like, the one thing I'll say about Jessica Jones season 2 is that the writing felt very different from the first season. It was getting... I don't mind when, like, it gets too political something, but, like, Jessica Jones was too much on the nose.
Well, that seems a bit odd considering I don't usually associate politics with Jessica. I figured the political discussion that I heard was present in Punisher. At least that seemed diegetic.
There was some of that too in Punisher, and I thought they did a fine job balancing that.
Right.
Even in Jessica Jones, I mean, with the whole idea of Kilgrave and, like, what he basically does to women, like, that's kind of like, a message about a certain something that I won't say. Jessica Jones season 2, it kind of goes a little bit further with that, and the whole thing about Jessica Jones season 2 is, I don't know if you knew this, every director of the episode was a woman, and I think it was written by women as well. So it was like this big, huge women like movement thing of directing, writing, producing behind the scenes, and like that's amazing, that's great, but it felt like the season got lost in that message.
Okay.
Especially when you get to the point where the villain's revealed, and literally when the villain got revealed, it felt like there was 4 to 5 episodes, nothing happened. And it was just the longest, like, drawn out, useless drama, and then it just got very boring, basically.
Okay, that's a shame.
Yeah, it was a shame, because I love the character Jessica Jones. I think Kristen Ritter is fantastic. I thought she was amazing the first season. And when she got nominated for, like, Best Actress in a Drama, I wanted her to win it because I thought Jessica Jones was a fantastic character.
Yeah, the first season was very good, and it was, I mean, because Daredevil really opened the door for a lot of possibilities, and it's a shame that things kind of took the turn that they did, and because there was so much kind of disdain is the word I'll use for a lot of the newer entries in that Netflix universe. I'm very glad that Daredevil came back, though. I'm worried that because of all the negative press the other shows had, I'm worried that people may not give Season 3 as much of a chance.
I've been seeing so many reviews trying to push people to go, no, please watch this one out of all of them. And in fact, actually, like when talking to some of my friends that didn't watch Punisher, they gladly started this when it came out. They were like, no, I'm watching Daredevil Season 3.
That's good. I'm glad.
I think it's like, we had the first, I mean, Daredevil was the show that started it all. So it's kind of like, we look at it as like the grandfather of this whole like Marvel Netflix universe. And then Season 2 came out and it gave us the best Punisher that we've been asking for the longest time, as well as Elektra, which, had a great, relationship with her and Daredevil. And then Defenders came out and it was okay, whatever. I mean, this show gets straight to the point. I mean, like, yeah, it does pick pick up where Defenders left off, but I mean, it gets over that real quick. It's
and they have like a Netflix, they have like a recap thing right when I started season 3. So it's like I'd kind of been following like what had been going on like with Defenders without ever watching it because Iron Fist just seemed annoying to me. And it's like one of my favorite memes is someone had been like, oh, I love the Defenders, Daredevil, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and Rosario Dawson, and because people just did not like Danny Rand.
Man,
but
he's literally one of the worst characters I think I've ever seen in a comic book show.
That's a real shame. Because you think
and it's like when I saw the episode where he appears in Luke Cage season 2. I've just seen the clips from that episode, and he was much better in that. And then I watched
better writer,
and then I watched a clip from season 2 of Iron Fist. I'm like, nope, still annoying.
Well, I don't know why. It's like
there's too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah, I guess.
It must just be that because I guess like the guys who are writing Daredevil, like Drew Goddard, the guy that wrote Bad Times at the El Royale.
Yeah.
I mean, he's still attached to this show. He still helped writing it,
yeah.
and he's only focused on this show. That's it. And you know what? Like, it really feels like the writers of this show came in and went, we just need to make this about Daredevil.
Yeah.
We're gonna ignore the whole universe that we've built here up to this point. We need to kind of pull people back in, keep it simple, keep it grounded. Focus on only Matt Murdock.
Yeah, because if the thing is so, and again, we're doing a lot of recapping and stuff. I do want to get to season 3.
Yeah, we will.
But season 1 was really good because it was a solid origin story, and for me, it was like watching the whole thing. It was like this is really good, and I'm also just like I'm just waiting for him to get that red suit. Season 2, in addition to being excellent and having its own self-contained story, which was really 2 big stories, the whole Punisher story, and then the whole Elektra story and like the story of the Hand, which had its own kind of end, but also tied into what was going to be resolved in Iron Fist and Defenders. And so, if anything, Daredevil season 2 was really the point in which everything started to really open up, and expand this universe for that eventual team up stuff. With Daredevil season 3, I think they observed the problems and
they went, "Whoop, that's not a good idea."
And so they were like, "We're going to just make it we're going to make it just one, like we're going to have it very self-contained, very focused, so people who may not have watched all the other stuff can still, it's like, have you watched Daredevil season 1 and 2? Boom, you're solid.
Yeah,
it's gonna be fine.
I have 2 friends. They're a couple, and I got them into. Well, the boyfriend got her into Daredevil, and I got him into Daredevil. And I asked them, I'm like, are you guys gonna try watching Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, or Iron Fist, or Defenders? And they went, maybe just Jessica Jones, because everything else they heard okay things about. And they said they'll check out Punisher, but like I told them immediately, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'll tell you guys if you need to know information about Daredevil season 3, like, you know, what happened to Defenders, but just go straight to season 3 of Daredevil. Like, just do it. And that just seems to be the thing with everybody. And it for the writers to do that, it seemed like the best call. It's like they took a step back. They realized the criticisms that were there with Defenders and all the other shows. They were like, okay, we're not gonna, because I don't think they even mention. I haven't seen any mention of anybody else so far.
I can tell you there is like one like reference kind of made jokingly to another character, like at the end, at the very end, which is like really kind of the most that we get. And then besides that, there's like in like one of the first episodes of season 3, like Daredevil's having a conversation with Karen Page and Punisher comes up.
Yeah, but, I mean that's because Punisher was part of that show,
and a huge part of Karen Page's arc.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, They really did a great job of making Daredevil season 3 just kind of stand on its not stand on its own, because I mean you've had to watch stuff, but the stuff you will have had to have watched to prep yourself for season 3
you still gotta
is
watch
considerably
1 and 2.
Yeah,
like you can't just be like, oh, I'm gonna start at season 3. No, you gotta watch season 1
and 2.
Obviously. But do you have to watch any of the other Netflix shows? No, you really don't.
So.
I mean, if you want, some little. You want a little like side dish, I would say watch Punisher, because Karen's in that show as well. If you want some further development with her character, other than that, man, you can skip everything else.
Pretty much.
Your Marvel Netflix universe with the way this season was written can just be Daredevil and Punisher. That's it.
Yeah.
Go on.
So getting into things, I really love that with Daredevil season 3, because when you have a superhero show like this, I've seen seasonal superhero programming before. I watched Arrow. I still watch Arrow on the CW because I love Green Arrow. And first 2 seasons were impeccable. They were great. 3rd season lost me. 4th I didn't even watch. But then I came back with the 5th, and I've been watching ever since.
Yeah.
Because so it's been kind of mixed match quality. And it's because occasionally you risk repetition and doing the same thing over and over again. However, with Daredevil, they've found a way to keep making things original and keeping like the dynamic kind of changing between seasons, but keeping the same heart and soul. So first season was just an origin story. Second season, he's like in the prime of his like whole career as like Daredevil. He's still learning, but like there's more now. The types of dilemmas he's dealing with are different.
Season 2 is kind of like he's been going at it for a while now. Like, it's kind of like I would say his sophomore or junior year of being a superhero. And then he's questioned with the whole morality of killing people when it comes to characters like
the Punisher
or Elektra, who are just like, there's that scene in season 2 where somebody finds out the identity of Matt Murdock and that he's Daredevil, and Elektra's like, you got to kill this dude. And he's like, no, I'd rather risk him knowing that than take a life away.
Yeah. And so now with Daredevil season 3, it's picking up after the end of the Defenders, which even without seeing it, they set it up in a way where you're like, okay, I understand that he's at kind of his lowest point ever.
Mm-hmm.
And it is adapting the rebirth arc from the comics. And so Matt has this descent and rebirth within his character arc that is grueling to watch. It's sometimes painful to watch because you see how he interacts with characters we've come to know and love, but it's also very captivating and incredibly satisfying throughout. And that's the thing. It's like it at no point while watching season 3 was I like, oh, this is just like season 2 or just like season 1. Mm-hmm. It was. They're all very different stories, and I like that.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. No, I completely agree with you there. And this is going to go into my first point, is that I really like seeing Matthew. It feels weird calling him Matthew. I really like seeing Matt Murdock at this lowest point. It's something that, like, when it comes to superhero movies, it's a bit risky because sometimes they do it and it doesn't work. Like Iron Man 2. Or
right.
I'm trying to think of other examples as well, where like heroes go to their lowest point.
Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, I can see that because like there was a lot of parts of Dark Knight Rises I was just kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean the whole thing of him being like, I wasn't Batman for 9 years. Jesus.
For 9 years. No, with this it's like they make it very believable. That like it's not, they don't go on it too long, but Matthew's going through this whole thing. Calling it again, it's so weird. Matt Murdock's going through this whole thing where he's just like, oh man, I'm tired of God, man. Like I feel like God's actually really screwing me over more than helping me. I don't know if I really believe my faith anymore. I don't know if I really he's starting to really question himself. Yeah. And he's even become to the point where he's just like, I don't even know if I want to do this anymore.
It's really cool seeing kind of. It's not something I often see, like especially with superheroes and comic book characters, is like them kind of questioning like their faith and stuff like that, and seeing his arc involving that, because it also connects to another very important and very major new character added here, which is Mother Maggie. Is that her name?
Yes, yeah. And this was a scene I wanted to bring up where Matt Murdock basically kind of tells her, I'd rather die as the devil than die as Matt Murdock. Like he's just become a point where he's just like, I don't want to be Matt Murdock anymore. I just want to be the Devil's Hell's Kitchen because literally that's all I get in life now. I'm tired of everything else. But one thing I gotta say is that, man, I really love every character in this show so far, especially in this season. I mean, everybody, it's all returning cast. Charlie Cox is, of course, Matt Murdock. Deborah Ann Woll is Karen. Eldon Henson is Foggy. Vincent D'Onofrio is Wilson Fisk. And we have a new character added in, which we'll talk about momentarily, basically the villain of this season. Mm-hmm. But Mother Maggie, who I got to find out who she's played by. I mean, Mother Maggie, she is such a minor character, but like everybody in this season, I feel like compared to every other season, has had a moment to shine. And it's so nice to see that. Like everybody feels like they have actually something to do here.
Yeah.
And in fact, Foggy's character, I gotta say, he's not annoying anymore.
He's not. So I've had many a discussion about this in the past with people, especially my dad, because he's a big comic book fan. He's the biggest comic book fan I know. And when I told him like how annoyed I was with Foggy, he sort of was like, no, he wasn't annoyed because it's like he kind of like he could sort of like see the Matrix, as it were. Like he was like, I understand his motivations and like why he feels that way. But for me, it's like season 2, it just kind of felt like he was like, I found out that my best friend is a superhero and I don't like it. And I don't like it because he's putting himself in danger and he's being reckless.
And also, like, Eldon Henson has not been the best actor either, especially in season 1.
Yeah.
But I guess he must have heard some criticism about that because I gotta say, so far in season 3, from what I've seen of him, not only is his character like actually trying to do something, like he just doesn't stand on Matt's sidelines and go, Matt, what are you doing? You're insane. This is stupid, Matt. Stop doing that, Matt. No, he's like, all right, Matt, look, man, I can't stop what you're doing, but I'm going to try to do stuff on my side to hopefully not get you killed.
And that's the thing. For me, it wasn't even just a matter of like I started watching season 3 and he was instantly better. He still was like, I was still having those moments where like, what's the actor's name again?
Eldon Henson. I still think that there were times where it's like, that line read, bro, that was not that great. Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, it's like, there's no way that this guy can convince anybody of anything. But he grew on me throughout the season because I was like, oh, they're giving him stuff to do. Yeah. So at least I have a frame of reference for like how he's like participating in the story. Because I had friends who were like, well, yeah, it totally makes sense why Foggy would be angry because, you know, there's this case of the century, you know, in season 2 where like, you know, Punisher's on trial and he's off doing his superhero thing. It's like, I get that, but what was Foggy doing?
Yeah.
What was Foggy doing? And I know that he has some
the entire
lawyer
time,
moments to shine, but I can't remember them.
No. In season 2, the only thing I remember him doing is just, once again, complaining about Matt being Daredevil. It was the thing he did in season 1. They didn't really do anything with this character in season 2.
Yeah.
He was like, because they did a lot with Frank Castle because they introduced him. They did a lot with Elektra because they introduced her. Karen had some moments to shine because she was with Punisher. And then Matt had this whole thing of his morale being questioned of whether or not he should kill people and everything, and having his past come back to haunt him and whatnot.
Foggy was really just sort of like an accessory to Matt's descent as a character.
Yeah, it really felt like
him.
that. This time around, all three of them, Karen, Matt, and Foggy, they all have something to do, and they feel like the defenders here.
Yeah,
they're a much more interesting team to watch actually play out and work together than the defenders. I mean, like, I've seen stuff because, you know, the thumbnails for Netflix episodes, and my friends who use my account have like finished the season. So I've seen thumbnails of like eventually, like, you know, they cross paths even more.
Yeah.
So I know they're gonna meet up, but I mean, so far just the little bridge building towards, especially at the end of episode 6, where all three of them are working together. It's just so nice actually to see them all have a purpose and actually working together for once, than just being separated and just complaining to Matt the whole time. Like, why are you doing this? It feels so nice now to see all three of them be like, okay, we know what Matt is, we know what Karen wants to do, and we know what Foggy wants to do. And they're all going to work together, and they're going to figure this whole thing out to bring down Wilson Fisk, who does make a return here.
As the antagonist,
as like an antagonist. I mean, he's been throughout all 3 seasons.
As if to further kind of like sink the dagger that this season was meant to be like, hey, we still got it.
Yeah.
Marvel, Netflix, we've still got it. They bring Wilson Fisk back, and because they did have him in season 2 in a pretty interesting little arc there.
Yeah.
Of its own, but here they really did a good job of bringing him back to the fold. And I have a lot of thoughts. The way that they tell his story is so cool, because you really get the sense that it's like, you know that Wilson Fisk has a lot of power, but you also like see like logically his situation, and you're like, he can't possibly. Oh no, he does have a lot of power, and he could. He can pull some strings, and it's them like kind of pulling the covers off and you revealing. It's like, oh man. He is in such a position of power that we can't even imagine.
One of my favorite things, though, about Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin is that no matter what into him, he always seems like he's got a story to tell.
Yeah.
It's just always like they'll ask him a question, and it's just like we just need a simple yes or no, and then the dude goes off and tells like a story basically the whole time. So
you will not remove your ankle monitor. You will not pass beyond the boundaries that will be shown to you. You will continue to have a strictly regulated schedule. That means eating, sleeping, shitting whenever I say. Do you understand, Mr. Fisk?
I've spent much of my life alone. For many years. Pretending.
I like looking at Agent Nadim's face, and he's just like, man, all I needed was a yes or no. I don't need to know your backstory.
which again, it's like going back to end of season 1 when he's like he's in the prisoner transport, and they're given. And he gives that whole story about the Good Samaritan and stuff like that. Really, really cool stuff. And but another thing about the story is that so Wilson Fisk in the position he's in, they pull the covers back as the series goes on to show like because he's made a deal to get himself out of prison. To basically rat out a bunch of other criminal organizations.
He's working with this agent called Agent Nadim, an agent that's basically like at his low point right now in his career, as well as Matt Murdock. There's some parallels there. And while trying to basically get some information about other rival gangs, he goes to the prison that Wilson Fisk is at, trying to see if he can get any information.
It's like a routine thing. He's supposed to go there, and he's expecting him to say no.
Yeah, he even goes in there. He's like, all right, let's just cut to the point. All right, just tell me that I should, piss off and not come back. And then Wilson Fisk starts actually ratting people out, and slowly, it's like he's just slowly revealing more and more, and the more he keeps revealing, the more stuff Wilson Fisk gets handed back to him, such as solitary confinement away from other prisoners, and just a better protection and all this other stuff. And then you slowly start saying that, yeah, man, Wilson Fisk plans out everything, and you see the power that he has. Because by the end of not season 6, by the end of episode 6, you're slowly starting to realize no, he's in control of everything right now.
Yeah,
he is the mastermind behind everything.
Yeah, and so you mentioned Nadim, and I want to talk more about him at length, probably later, or I guess now.
Go ahead.
Because he's an awesome character. And at first I was worried. I was just I don't know how they're gonna spend all this time focusing on this other guy when we could be focusing on the people I already care about. But I'm glad they did, because his character, the type of story told through Nadim's arc is in itself, from the beginning, I was immediately oh, I see where this is going, and oh god, I like it because of how tragic it is. Because I saw the trajectory. It's we have this guy who wants to move up the ranks. He wants to become higher in the ranks of the FBI.
Help pay up some medical bills and everything back at his house.
Exactly. And he sees all of that happening. He wants to get higher, and he sees an opportunity, and he's not really getting the opportunities he wants. And then he goes, like we said, he goes to Fisk, and he's not expecting anything. He's going through his routine. He's accepted. It's well, I'm stuck doing all this nothing work. And wouldn't you know it, Wilson Fisk says the one thing he's not expecting him to say, which is I'm going to give you a bunch of information. And from there, it's Nadim is
just a pawn.
And he doesn't even realize it at first. At first he's this is the best. Now I have an opportunity to bring a bunch of people to justice.
Yeah.
And of course not perfectly, because as later find out, he is as he later realizes, he is a big pawn in this. And seeing him grapple with that feeling of just hopelessness, and then finding his own resolution to it, it's what makes the end of the season so graphic, because he really does have an incredible heroic arc.
I heard, I saw an article floating around that said why Agent Nadim is the unsung hero of season 3.
Yeah.
And I was I can kind of see that even at the point I'm at right now. His character, you're
gonna love where they go with this.
I thought when I first got introduced to his character, I'm all right, he's gonna get killed off probably early on or something. And it's like, no, he stuck around, and like the more and more he's on screen, the more and more I'm like, no, he's actually a really cool character to see like interact with everybody as well. Like I said, man, they have done a fantastic job with every side character this season. Every character feels fleshed out or has a point to the story. And another one that we were touching on was Sister Maggie, who I think has some of the best scenes with Matt Murdock. I mean, her and Charlie Cox, her as in Joanne Whaley plays Sister Maggie. Her and Charlie Cox, amazing chemistry with one another. Amazing chemistry.
Angry, sarcastic, and stubborn. Maybe you don't have any friends.
Someone once told me that warriors were meant to be alone. That caring for people would make me weak.
Sounds like he needed to get laid.
Ha! That actually explains a lot. I mean, he was right, of course. I let people in, I paid a price. I won't make that mistake again. What is it?
Took those out of storage. You were probably the last one to read them.
My Bible. All right. I get the hint.
And I get the sense things are complicated with you and the guy upstairs.
No, not at all. If anything, I'd say we finally know where we stand with each other. There is a man from the land of Uz.
Book of Job.
Book of Job. Story of God's perfect servant, Job. He prayed every day at dawn with his knees on the ground, his face.
Like even just like little interactions like that between the two are just really fun to see play out. And also like it helps really build that whole development of Matt being at his lowest point. And you really get a sense of that when he's reunited with his orphanage caretakers, like like Sister Maggie taking care of him and everything.
And that's another thing. You know, we were talking about Nadim. We were talking about Sister Maggie. I thought I called her Mother Maggie earlier.
Yeah, we called her Mother Maggie.
Yeah.
I thought she was a Mother Maggie. Yeah. I mean Mother Maggie, but sister.
But Sister Maggie, and they really do find a human, like a character a character for every aspect of this crazy like game of chess that is Hell's Kitchen. So you have the characters in the FBI, two different types of characters in the FBI. You have your big antagonist, you have Daredevil, you have those representing like the law, like Foggy. You have people representing like the people and like the press, like Karen. You have this incredible, well-realized cast representing every part of the every part of the playing field, and it makes the story so much more impactful when all the pieces come together.
Oh yeah, man! I gotta say though, Bullseye kicks ass in this.
Yeah,
I was. When I heard they were going to do Bullseye, I was like, how the hell are you going to adapt that into Netflix? And when I heard, like, they're going to bring in the whole thing where, like, anything he throws, he's, like, dead on accurate with it and whatnot. And I was like, man, how are you going to make that believable? Because, like, the entire time I was watching the episodes and just realizing how grounded it is and how, like, gritty and dark it is, I was like, man, how are you going to make this character really, like, seem believable when like he's like tossing pencils at Matt Murdock and they're like nearly about to stab him and everything, and they make it work. They make it work because of two things. One, they do some really creative action scenes with him. There was an action scene between obviously him and Matt, and it's my favorite action scene I've seen so far, which is hard because we're going to talk about another action scene that happened in episode 4 that I thought was incredible. And I thought, well, there we go. There's the best action scene of the season probably. And then episode 6, there's another one, and it blew me away, like how creative they got with the whole idea of Bullseye being able to use anything as a weapon.
This is a compliment of not only Marvel and Netflix, but the MCU, like in like movies. Bullseye is the very thesis of what happens when Marvel tries to deepen a character from the comics. Because in the comics, we don't really know a lot about Bullseye's backstory.
He's more of a silly character, too.
So we never really get a sense of his backstory. So I would compare his portrayal in the Netflix series. This is essentially the Marvel equivalent of like the Killing Joke in like Joker's backstory.
Okay, yeah.
It's because it's is a villain that is beloved by fans whose backstory isn't necessarily needed and isn't always given to us.
Yeah.
But when it is given, you're like, this is messed up and crazy and awesome.
Yeah, and even my biggest critique so far, though, with the season, episode 5 is where they get into his backstory. And it's not that his backstory was bad. No, it was interesting to see. The way they show it, though, the first part of it, like the first 5 minutes of his backstory, I thought was a bit cheesy. What happens is Wilson Fisk gets some files about Bullseye, and he starts reading them.
Yeah.
And the screen becomes black and white,
Yes.
and then like Wilson Fisk is walking around basically in the setting that
in
the
the-
file is
yeah.
describing.
Yeah.
And the first one is about him being on a baseball team with like a baseball coach, and the kid actor they have during that time.
Yeah, it's not the best actor.
It's not the best actor, and just it being black and white, and just like what ultimately leads to what happens to like the baseball coach.
Yeah.
It made me bust out laughing. But then the following 2 ones where it's him older with the psychiatrist evaluating him, I thought were way better. I kind of wish they just started there.
Yeah, it's because it's hard to get really good children actors. But
It is.
It's crossing that boundary of like really talented child actor, parents who will let them be in this thing that is really messed up and mature.
That is really true. It kind of slowed things down a bit because it was like, oh man, like this is kind of it felt more silly because it got into black and white. You see, big Wilson Fisk walking in the background while this is playing out.
Because it's one of my favorite like visual motifs when you're trying to maybe not motif. I'm trying to think of the word.
And don't get me wrong. I didn't think it was a stupid idea for them to do that. I like the idea that I'd rather have us actually seeing this play out than Wilson Fisk picks up the file and goes, "He was deadly. He killed so many people with baseballs and pens and pens." Because that would just sound stupid.
It would.
As you were reading the file. But actually seeing it play out, as silly as the first part was of his backstory, the rest of it felt very plausible and gave so much more context to everything we've been seeing to that character prior to that.
It's visual direction at its finest because it was a way for them to be like, we're going to show, don't tell.
Yeah.
We're going to show, not tell the backstory in a way that's visually interesting. And it also inadvertently kind of shows how cunning Wilson Fisk is when he's analyzing things, because he basically
finds the weakness.
He finds the weakness, and the way that they take his like big penthouse suite and the open spaces therein, make the black and white space, and then just sort of have it. It's like, all right, we're just gonna have it. It's the best kind of screenwriting. It's someone saying like, hey, we're gonna have Wilson Fisk just kind of walking around his apartment, like imagining in his mind the backstory that he's reading about, and we get to show the audience how this character came to be, and Wilson Fisk analyzing it almost as if he can literally see it. But because of the black and white filtering, and of course just because logic, the audience is able to easily pick up on. It's like, oh, this is a flashback. It's the type of simple stuff it's like simple, but also not simple at all, and I love it. It's such great screenwriting.
And just once again, I mean, my favorite part, as much as I keep harping on it, I just find it hilarious. Once again, Bullseye confronts him, and this is actually like the scene where he approaches him.
Yes, because Bullseye is. We can go more into like what his whole character's deal is, but
we will, yeah.
he's a very violent. He has some very violent tendencies, and he's worried it's going to get him screwed over.
Yeah.
But Wilson Fisk, knowing him and having an eye on him, Wilson Fisk is basically like, I want this guy working for me.
Yeah.
So he does him
because
something.
one, Bullseye saves his life.
Yes.
I mean, this isn't really a spoiler, and it's in the second episode.
Yes. There is basically a big attack while they're transporting Wilson Fisk to his penthouse suite.
For solitary confinement.
Lots of people attack the convoy, and then Ben Poindexter, who is Bullseye, FBI agent and marksman galore, comes in and saves him and shows off all of his very efficient skills.
Wilson Bethel, by the way, is the guy that plays Poindexter or Dex.
Yeah. And from that point forward, Wilson is basically like, I want this guy working
Yeah,
for
he
me.
sees how deadly he is, and he's just like, I think I got an idea.
Yeah,
And
so-
then when you slowly see the idea he has, it's like, man, once again, this dude was just, he's like 5 steps ahead of everybody.
Exactly.
And it makes you, so far, I just been like, man, I don't know how Karen, Matt, or Foggy are going to figure their way out of this. It really has me on my toes the entire time. Like, I'm wondering if one of them's going to come out alive at the end of this, because I know in the comics, and they did it in the crappy Ben Affleck movie, one of Bullseye's biggest things is that he does kill somebody close to Daredevil. So I'm wondering if that's gonna play out here. Obviously, don't tell me. But I'm really excited to see what they're doing with this character, especially the way episode 6 ends. But just once again, I mean, here's a clip of Poindexter confronting Wilson Fisk about like all the spying that he's been doing on him, and
Right.
Poindexter realizing like, I know you've been like, watching me. I know what you're doing. And of course, what does Wilson Fisk say to him as soon as he opens his mouth?
Thing about me.
When I was a boy.
Just immediately, like, you can tell, like, man, he comes in there all furious, and he's like, now I gotta sit through your 5-minute back.
I just love what we're doing comedically when we're just cutting away from it right as he starts. That's even funnier.
When I was a boy.
When I was a boy.
But
I'm surprised they haven't made an SNL sketch about that yet.
It really should. I've been seeing plenty of memes now. Like, people have been pointing it out, like, more and more. Now they're like, okay.
Yeah.
There's a little cliche with this character where, like, every single time he's about to, like...
Oh, but you
give
don't
an-
mind because
you don't
he's
mind, no.
so good.
Because Vincent D'Onofrio is an excellent actor and totally stays in character when playing Kingpin. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, like, the man is very good as Kingpin and pulls off the look very well.
And I will say, and I know you haven't finished it yet, so I won't spoil it, but I will also mention that Vanessa, the love interest from season 1, she has an interesting role to play. It's not as extensive or as minimal as you might think from watching like the second season and onward.
Vanessa.
But Vanessa,
Rosario Dawson?
No, wait. Am I getting the name wrong of Wilson Fisk's love interest?
Oh, no, you're right. Vanessa.
Vanessa.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, Vanessa, Wilson Fisk's love interest from the first season, kind of makes her own. She has an interesting role to play, and
Okay.
for the small amount that she's in the third season, it not only completes Wilson's arc so well, but it speaks volumes on its own.
Yeah.
So you can look forward to
Okay,
that. That's great.
I am, man, because like I said, I mean, every side character thus far has been fantastic. Now, okay, we've been going on about the writing and everything, and about how Poindexter is a villain that you have sympathy for, but it's one of those villains where it's like, while you're sympathetic, you also realize they're kind of psychotic and they need to be stopped. You're probably wondering, okay, the writing is good. And it seems like they're doing a great job with the characters, and the story so far this season has been excellent.
Including Karen, which before we move on, I will say Karen's arc was a much needed kind of end to a lot of the plot hang-ups, because there have been a lot of
about her past
and stuff. A lot of stuff, even like stuff that happened in season 1 that felt like it never really got resolved for her. They do a good job of resolving that here, especially with like the first half of an episode, which I think is just dedicated to her backstory.
Okay.
And it's very I thought that it was nice to see them finally resolve those things. But you were saying, go on.
Like I was telling my friends about all of this, like telling them, yeah, the writing is on point this season. They have a great story. I think this is, out of all 3 seasons, this one has the best story. Because the one issue with season 1 is that it's just an origin story, so you got to do the basics.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's an origin story. You just got to do it very well.
Yeah.
And they did do that. Season 2, I loved everything with the Punisher. Those first 4 episodes I thought were fantastic. And then the Hand came in, and then it still was the Punisher trial. So it was like you were balancing 2 stories, and sometimes some things got lost in the way. But overall, it was still a great story. This time, thus far, all 6 episodes that I've watched has stayed on track of what it is, and it's been one engaging story. I think it's the best story of all the Netflix shows thus far. But my friends asked me, how's the action? Man,
It's good.
Those hallway fights got even better this season. Episode 4 is where it goes down. I won't reveal what it is. I won't reveal how it goes down, but Episode 4, I think the season 2 hallway fight is still my favorite.
Yes.
But the amount of production put into this episode 4 one and how long it goes on for, and just how much lines, these actors had to remember, and, the choreography they had to remember. I mean, I was sitting there and I went, hold on a second. I pulled out my phone. I'm like, this has been going on for 13 minutes. This has been one shot for 13 minutes. How the hell did they do this? I know, like, there's camera tricks to where, like, they actually had a cut, but we just don't see it.
And so,
it's still impressive. It's still very long takes. It's about probably 3 to 4 minute takes of just one shot spliced up into, like, 13 minutes.
And they did a much better job of masking it, too.
Yeah, they really did.
Because season 2, there were, like, 2 moments during that big stairwell fight where you could... Oh, it was so obvious. But I didn't mind because it was so masterful.
And even season 1, in the first hallway fight, like, you obviously know there's a cut when he went into one room, came out the other, or came back out of the room. There was a cut there and everything. But, like, still, I mean, they really hit it very well. They used really good lighting and very good camera tricks to, like, hide the cuts.
I would say every season of Daredevil so far has had at least 2 fights where, from a technical aspect, they've really pushed the envelope and tested themselves. So, like, with first season, you had the hallway fight that everybody remembers. It was awesome. And then I think there was like one fight scene that was like a 360 shot taken from inside a car while he beat up a bunch of people. Yeah. It's less remembered, but it's something that was brought to my attention a while back. Season 2, you have the whole, fight with
Punisher and Daredevil.
And, mainly specifically the stuff in the stairwell.
Yeah, in the stairwell
hallway fight.
Anything with Elektra.
Anything like there. Anything with that. And so it's usually a mixture of, like, being memorable just for the sake of, like, setting or, like, intensity and its effect on the plot, or the technical prowess therein and what they did. This season, it's kind of like it's kind of like when you and I reviewed Mission Impossible Fallout. I was saying that it doesn't necessarily push the envelope as much as some of the other ones, but the emotions in the fights themselves are really, really awesome.
No, I would say they are the most creative.
Yes.
Like, every episode so far, except episode 5, has had at least one action scene, and they've been good. But episode 4 and 6 stick out, especially 6. Man, I'm not kidding. This fight between Daredevil and Bullseye, I was like, okay, this is the moment I've been waiting for, because I wanted to see how they're gonna really use Bullseye's, like, quote unquote powers against Matt. And it is amazing.
It's very good.
It's like, wow, you guys really made this work. And it's done with, of course, great choreography and taking that camera and stepping back and letting the actors or stuntmen do their thing.
Yes.
And it's what I wish more action movies would do, because, like, it's clearly shot, it's perfectly edited, and it has great choreography, and it is engaging the whole time.
So I would say those 2 fights.
The hit's hard too. The hits are hard.
And so those 2 fights, I would say, are the 2 that were, like, the most of the entire season. Those were the ones where it was, like, 100% incredible because because either it was just technically impressive and pushing the envelope, like the one from episode 4, or just generally amazing in every aspect, like with the one from episode 6, and telling a story through the fight as well in terms of the difference in their abilities.
Yeah.
And, how they countered each other's,
the
abilities.
action, especially with those 2 scenes, it wasn't like just action for the sake of action. No, the action was actually moving the plot forward
and telling a very good story.
Yeah.
All the other fights are good as well, and they're aided by they are entertaining because of the emotions already fueling those fights themselves. They aren't going to necessarily break new ground like with the 2 fights we've already been praising, but that's not to say they're bad. It's just that, they set a standard, and then they didn't try to just constantly keep upping like
because I was worried too, because, like, even in season 2 when the hallway fight first started, I was like, oh, you guys are gonna try doing this again, and they did a great job,
and they did an incredible job,
and then they season 3 I was like, oh, here we go again. I'm like, you guys are gonna try doing this? Whoa!
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it now wasn't just a hallway fight; it was more of like a hallway.
It was a whole building.
It was a hallway sequence. So it was an entire performance in and of itself.
Yeah.
And also we cannot forget season 2 Daredevil, the prison fight.
Oh yeah, with Punisher.
That was the one where my dad was peeking around the corner because he had already seen the episode. And he was like watching my reaction, and because I was like, ooh, it was like Red Wedding light.
Oh, dude. The Red Wedding looked at that and went like, yo, man, calm down a bit.
Yeah.
You're catching up to our league. But yeah, I mean, the action thus far, it's been great. And Daredevil, to me, has had the best action of all the shows as well, because Jessica Jones, they haven't had the best time really filming the action scenes around her super strength. Yeah. But they compensate that with great storytelling, great acting, great writing. Luke Cage has been very like lighthearted, so like they have a much more lighthearted action scenes where like Luke Cage like will walk up to like a group of gangbangers and they'll be like, hey, what are you doing here, Luke Cage? And he'll just lightly slap one in the head and they're knocked out because of how strong he is.
And then
Iron Fist is just trash.
And then Iron Fist, despite having the most potential for martial arts action, can't shoot or choreograph a fight to save its life.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Daredevil is like, okay, he doesn't have powers. His powers are basically just enhanced hearing, smelling. That's about it.
Enhanced senses.
And then it's just like, he doesn't really have powers. And the thing I really like about his fight scenes, Daredevil gets tired in his fight scenes. That's the one thing I always love about any action movie, is if you make your hero vulnerable. You either make him vulnerable for actually showing him get hit, actually showing him bleeding, and seeing him get tired makes you so much more invested in the fight, because you're like, okay, is he going to make it to the end of this one? Yeah. Or is he going to get knocked out and taken prisoner? It's something I've loved about these Kung Fu movies, The Raid, and something I love about John Wick 2, which is they implement a way for John Wick to able to be shot at and hit, but still like keep going.
Right.
Have you seen John Wick 2?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. I'm talking about the bulletproof suit.
Yeah.
Where it's like they allow him to like get shot, and it's like he feels like the hits and he'll get tired, of course, but it's like it's still like, oh my god, he's actually getting shot at and he's actually getting hit. It's
the mechanics are very well thought out.
Here it's like with all the hallway fights in Daredevil, the one thing I've always liked is by the end of them, Matt just ends the fight with like flopping onto the last guy, because he's just like, okay, I can't do this anymore. I just need to take you down, and literally just throws his entire body on top of him. It's something that's interesting, because my dad is just like, he likes it when like the hero is never getting tired and just keeps on going.
Right.
And he sees that like the tiredness as sort of like a weak person, where I see it as like, no, it just makes him more human and actually, once again, more grounded, and makes the fight even better.
Yeah, because then you know that the stakes are there.
Yeah, like they fought with everything in their body and they still came out like barely. I mean, like, you know, that to me, it makes them a much cooler and better fighter too. It makes the scene so much better.
Right.
You got anything else you got to add in? Because I really can't say much more since I'm only 6 episodes in, but I gotta say I've been loving it, man.
Yeah, you're gonna really love where it goes, because there's some awesome stuff.
Yeah.
And
real quick before you go on, when I do finish the season, I'll do like a quick 2 to 3 minute like recap of what I thought of the last 7 episodes, I believe.
Right.
It's 13 episodes, right? Yeah, okay. Then last like 7 episodes, I'll do a recap of what I thought about those basically, and give like a final grade. I am going to give a grade now. It's just a mid-season grade. But Matthew, go ahead.
Well, so I will just reiterate, I think the conclusion is incredible. I think that they do an excellent job of starting it off, establishing some already pretty intense stakes from like a character standpoint. By the midpoint, realizing it's like, oh man, Wilson Fisk has everything under control. And then by the end point, there's moments where I was thinking like, how are they going to defeat this? How are they going to overcome this? And it makes the conclusion so much more gratifying, because you get to see like how the heroes come together, and it's not all just like a merry happy ending, but it is satisfying, and they do, and there are some very very satisfying like rivalries and fights at the very end. It just feels so complete. I loved it. I will say this though, and this is an issue plaguing all of the Netflix Marvel shows, and really a lot of streaming shows in general. It's still a bit too long. I think that you're on Netflix. You're not on TV. You don't have to make every episode 45 minutes. You can make your episodes whatever they need to be to tell the story, because you're breaking a story into an episodic format. Whatever amount of things you need to convey to me, take whatever amount of time you need.
Yeah. If I may, that is a problem I've had with every Netflix show, including Daredevil. So far, not in season 3. So far, I thought every episode had served its purpose, or had scenes in there that I didn't feel like, okay, we could have cut that out. But every other show, even Punisher and the ones I've loved, like season 2 of Daredevil, I will say there have been moments I'm like, okay, we could have trimmed like this by 20 minutes, or this could have been an episode or two shorter than what it actually is.
And that's just an issue with streaming services in general, is that when you're producing original content for that, they're still thinking in terms of the old rules. When storytelling, when you have a medium as flexible as online streaming, you can kind of break those rules.
And it sucked with Defenders, because Defenders, when I heard that they were going to do 8 episodes, I was like, oh, okay, they're listening. They're listening.
They're going to tighten it up.
They're going to tighten it up, get to the meat of it. But I don't know how the hell this happened. Even with 8 episodes, it felt too long, because the first 3 episodes took way too long for them to meet up. And even the first 2 episodes felt pointless. I was like, man, there was no point to those. You could have made the first 2 episodes just the beginning of episode 3 and just have it the episode 3, like what happens at the end of episode 3 play out. It could have been like one whole episode.
You know, a show that does that really well?
Which one?
Castlevania.
Season
2? Because the first season was only 4 episodes.
Yeah.
And it had a story it had to tell, and it told it.
That is also due to the fact that originally
it was going to be a movie.
It was going to be a movie, so they found a way to really just be like, okay, we're just
so they changed the ending, and then they did what they did, which is understandable.
I can't wait for that season.
But it's an example, because here's the thing: it worked and it got people hyped, and I think that more shows should do. This is something that I love about a lot of anime that I watch, is that there will be stuff called OVAs, original video animations. They're not released on TV. They're not released in theaters. They're just released on the internet
or
and
bridge
stuff like
cuts.
that, or bridge cuts, and it'll be these shows, these adaptations that are conceived from the get-go to be, and sometimes there are going to be the conventional episode lengths. There was one of my favorite shows of all time is only 6 episodes, and it was like a 6-episode series. Each one of them was like 24 minutes, standard episode length. But then you have shows like there's a series of OVAs called like Planetarian, which is like this post-apocalypse type thing. And there was like one episode that was like a standard episode length, and then another that was maybe like 12 minutes. It's like they take the amount of time that they need, and then they make an episode that length of time. Mm-hmm. And if it's good, I'll be satisfied. And that's what I think that shows like Daredevil, shows on streaming services need to take away from.
No, definitely. You want to give your final thoughts?
I think I've pretty much summed up everything. Daredevil season 3, awesome. It's proving that Netflix and the Marvel Netflix still got it. They just gotta they gotta trim the fat. They got to and they gotta stop overthinking things. They can't try to be like the MCU. I know you're part of Marvel. They're technically part of that universe, but they aren't really acting like it necessarily.
At this point, just make it its own thing.
And you could make its own thing. I like Imagine. I do like thinking that they're all in the same place.
I liked it at first, but at this point, it's just complicated things because the movies are getting much and much more grander. Mm-hmm. That I look back at these TV shows, like even though they are street level heroes, it's kind of just making me go, man, just be your own thing. All right, don't mention Cap, don't mention Thor, don't mention any of that nonsense. Right. Like even the snap that happens in Infinity War. I don't know if they're ever going to integrate that into the shows. I don't think they should, though. I think they can leave that out.
They could probably mention it in passing and stuff, but honestly, I don't know. Honestly, it'll all depend on how
4 plays out.
On how 4 plays out, and how easily that they can just explain it away. Yeah. But I'm not too worried about that. Either way, looking at it as just what it is, which is the Netflix
what we got
Marvel.
Now.
Yeah, well, looking at as what we got now, Daredevil season 3 was incredible, and it's proven once again that there has never been a bad season of Daredevil. You are not going to go wrong spending some time watching this one. I'd give it an A+.
Oh, the first A+ of Variety Visa!
Yeah.
Hey, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you other than the grade because I haven't finished it yet.
Right.
But I'm telling you right now, from the way that this season has been going, it can easily be an A+ for me, without a doubt. I've been loving this season. And like if I had to grade all the seasons, season 1 to me would be a B+, season 2 is an A. This season is also an A as of now. 6 episodes in, it is a very high A.
Mm-hmm.
If these next few episodes play out as good as they are, or have been these past 6 episodes, like these next 7 are just as good as they have been, this can easily be an A+. This will be like one of my favorite seasons I've ever watched of a show this year. I cannot recommend this enough. If you have fallen out of the Netflix shows because the quality has not been that great, you haven't been that interested in the heroes compared to Daredevil, do not worry. None of that affected this season. It is still as strong as the other 2 seasons have been, and even better and stronger than those seasons too. I've been loving it up till I almost said up till now. I've been loving it from what I've seen now, and I can totally see it becoming an A+. And yeah, if you could just, I like I said, I can't really go any further because I've only seen 6 episodes and I don't want to spoil too much. But yeah, man, I mean, characters are integrated well, the action's amazing, and the plot so far this season has been really, really good. And so yeah, it's an A for me for now. Totally can become an A+, and I could totally see that happening. And yeah, that's about it for Daredevil.
Absolutely.
I know, man. I was worried when the news came out about Iron Fist being canceled. I was like, oh, I saw that coming. And Luke Cage got canceled. I'm like, okay. I was waiting to wake up the next day to see Jessica Jones being canceled, and then I would have been like, oh no, Daredevil's next, isn't he? And so if I wake up and I see Daredevil canceled off of Netflix, I might break down and cry.
Yeah. I don't think they would, though, if they know that this is... Unless it was going to follow an announcement that it's going to be moving to, like, the Disney streaming service.
And that's my other concern as well, is, like, if this does move to the Disney streaming service, is it going to be as brutal as it is? Because, like, I mean, like, you know, I'm not like, oh, the show's dark and gritty. Like, yeah, it's dark, but it's mature dark. It's using that R rating not just to show blood and swear. No, it's using the R rating to enhance its story that it's telling. Something that Logan did very well. It's not being like Titans where, you know, Robin comes down, beats up a bunch of guys, kills them, and it says F Batman because, you know, we gotta be cool and edgy for the kids. For our streaming service. This has to be our Daredevil series on our streaming service. Like, no, this is very more mature, rated R, like M for mature, like, you know, show they have on their streaming service. I'm just worried that if it goes to Disney, are we going to lose that?
Right.
Because, I mean, Disney could keep it that way. They could. I mean, they have other studios that Disney owns that, you know, don't have that castle show up at the beginning of the movie, but they do have studios that have rated R movies.
Honestly, I feel like they'll just keep giving it to Netflix. I think, if anything, I think they're probably gonna just merge Luke Cage and Iron Fist together into their own show.
That's what I was thinking too.
Teaming up together.
I was thinking like, okay, those 2 got canceled. I think it's a coincidence because it's like, they're gonna make Heroes for Hire the TV series.
Right.
They're gonna do that. I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't. But, anyways, there it is. Our first TV review of Daredevil season 3. A great one to start with as well. We'll be reviewing Castlevania season 2 next, and we'll look into other shows as well. Most of them will probably be on Netflix. Very few of them will be live television. I wish Game of Thrones was coming out by the time we were doing this.
I wish I was caught up.
You're not caught up?
I'm 2 seasons behind because my dad got rid of our HBO.
Let me know, man. Yeah. I'll provide you the things you need.
Perfect.
Yeah, man, you gotta get caught up. Oh, because I think if I do stay here over the summer at the radio station, we could definitely review it on the show.
I would love to do that.
Unless if I find something and it takes my time away from the station, like all the time I have, then never mind. I'll just have to review it on the side. But we're going to go into something else now. We're going to switch to video games. We haven't talked about video games in a while.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the last time we talked about video games.
I don't think we have.
Telltale.
Oh, yeah, there's Telltale.
And then...
There's Telltale.
I think that's it.
Yeah, I think we just talked about Telltale.
Some other stuff. But you did not get a chance to play Red Dead 2.
I have not yet. I'm probably going to because background, Red Dead Redemption 1 is one of my favorite games of all time.
Same here.
I think it's the best. It's the best series that Rockstar has produced, because I like GTA, but GTA, the type of power fantasy it offers me isn't really appealing. It's like, if I'm gonna go on a rampage, I want to do it in a way that's like narratively diegetic, and I don't know, fighting police in GTA has never really been that fun to me. And
Really?
when my other options are like, go do yoga or play golf, I'm like, I'm gonna lose interest pretty quickly. Though the story was really good. But Red Dead Redemption just gives me a whole different power fantasy that's far more interesting, because I feel like I can, I can live out sort of like, I can be a vigilante.
Bastards! I didn't do nothing! Damn fool!
With Red Dead Redemption 2, Rockstar Games.
This whole thing is pretty much done. Wake him up a little!
As you were saying.
I enjoy
I'm so
TV commercial.
that.
That's the first time I've ever seen that TV commercial, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I hadn't seen that one. That is right up my alley in terms of trailer editing. But I was saying that Red Dead Redemption has a much more appealing like power fantasy to me. It's kind of like the difference between like Dark Souls and like Bloodborne. It's like they're pretty similar, but the power fantasy offered is a bit different. And so yeah, I'm very excited for Red Dead Redemption 2.
Well, you should be, because Matthew, I gotta say, man, this is probably the best game I've played, not only this year, but in like the decade right now. From 2010 to 2020, I doubt, unless if Cyberpunk comes out anytime soon, Cyberpunk 2077, that's the only thing I can really see rival this game.
Right.
I don't own a PlayStation 4, so I haven't tried God of War yet. I haven't played Spider-Man.
Marvel Spider-Man made me cry. The ending made me cry.
And I've heard those games are amazing. And I want to get a PlayStation 4 just for those two games alone, as well as The Last of Us Part 2. And I got to say, though, dude, I mean, I've been... Okay, so ever since the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 has come out, and mind you, I don't have a PlayStation 4, so once again, Horizon Zero Dawn is another game I didn't get a chance to play. I haven't really played a game that made me go, this is really next gen. This feels like no way this could have not been done on 360.
Right.
We had Destiny, and it was like, well, I mean, that came out on 360. So
Yeah.
it was like, there was nothing. I thought that was going to be the biggest one. It really wasn't. It was just an online shooter, basically. We had Halo 5, which I was hoping would be a big step forward with Halo, and it kind of really wasn't. It took Halo in a new direction, but it wasn't anything really impressive other than the look of the game, which was beautiful. I mean, it was it's the best looking Xbox One game for sure. The Tomb Raider games, they're just standard Tomb Raider games, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I love the Tomb Raider games. It's just they haven't really like done anything incredibly different since the first Tomb Raider game that we got from Square Enix. There hasn't been really anything for me this gen, and I thought Fallout, or actually no, there hasn't been another Scrolls game. I thought Fallout 4 might have been that, and once again that wasn't. So this entire generation, while there have been incredible games, and I like Rise of the Tomb Raider, all that, I've been loving them. There hasn't been a game that made me go, wow, this feels like the reason why I had to buy an Xbox One or I had to buy a PlayStation 4, because there's no way I think a 360 or a PlayStation 3 or a Wii or a Nintendo Wii U, whatever the hell it was called, there was no way this could have been played on there. The only games that come to mind that made me like drop my jaw were Breath of the Wild, which was on Wii U as well, and Mario Odyssey, which made me go, okay, yeah, these games were truly magnificent. And
Witcher
just perfect.
3 was also pretty
Witcher 3, okay, I'll give you that. Witcher 3, I was like, okay, I can see this being on next gen. Yeah. That there are some things in there though. I was like, that kind of reminds me of Witcher 2 when I played it on Xbox 360. But Witcher 3, I would say that's the closest thing. Red Dead Redemption 2, without a doubt, though, has made me drop my jaw many times going, yeah, no, there's no way this could have been done on the previous gen. This was made for this
I felt
gen.
that way. I felt that way playing Uncharted 4. I replayed it recently.
Another game I haven't played.
And that's a game because the photo mode is the best thing that come out of this generation.
For real, man.
Because there have been so many times playing Uncharted 4 where not even having a PS4 Pro, not even having an HDR TV, just where I had to stop and just pause the game and just take screenshots because it was so gorgeous.
Yeah.
So yeah,
there have been so many times in this game I've either used the Xbox's recording system or screenshot system, or I mean there is a camera in game. It's one of those old school camera things,
right.
And I've taken photos with that because it's just like the game. I mean, it is the best looking game on both consoles. If there is a game that you're like, what's the best looking game that's both on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, it's Red Dead Redemption 2. There is no doubt. I mean, the amount of detail that goes into the graphics in this game, like seeing just hair particles on mustaches, beards, fur coats, stuff like that actually blowing in the wind. And like everybody, like each piece, it's not like going separate directions. It's all blowing in the direction it should be.
It's Assassin's Creed Unity done right.
Yep. The facial animation. There was a point where Arthur was listening to one of his gang members tell him about a bank they could possibly rob, and just seeing. I zoomed in on Arthur's face during this part. I put the camera really close because I wanted to see. Just seeing his eyes, mouth, jawline, all that adjust to actually show that he's actually interested in what they're saying. I just love small little details like that. But the biggest thing I could take away from this is that the whole idea that they've been pushing that you can interact with anybody in the game and they will remember you, I thought that was going to be... I thought they were like, okay, maybe you
they thought maybe it was going to be exaggerated.
A little bit exaggerated. No, it is not exaggerated. I'm going to break down a scenario for you. I'm going to break down two scenarios for you that happened to me during my play session. These were not affected by missions. These were affected by my own actions. I was just free roaming, messing around, did some stuff, suffered consequences from it, or benefits.
Okay.
The first one was I went into this town called Valentine, and I know this happens in a mission where you get into a bar fight in this town for a mission. This wasn't for that mission. This was even before I even did that mission. I walked into the saloon and I immediately thought to myself, I'm going to punch somebody right now. So I walked up to like the closest drunk guys I can find. I punched them in the face. A bar fight started. His friend grabbed me and held me back while the person I punched came up to me and started punching me in the stomach, and I had to break free from his friend and then continue the fight. I was losing the fight because I was getting my ass kicked. So I ran out of the saloon, and as I was running out of the saloon, the two guys were chasing me. As I was running out of the saloon, a sheriff was walking down the street. I pulled out my gun. I shot the two guys that were chasing me. The sheriff told me, put your hands up right now where I can see them, drop your weapon, all that stuff. I shot the sheriff. I got on my horse. I rode out of the town. I went off, did a mission for somebody, did another mission for somebody, slept that day. Woke up, did another mission, went back to sleep. So basically 2 days later within the game, I went back to that town. And as soon as I rode in, people saw me and they started stepping back. And when one person stepped back, they told me, you better not be causing any trouble in that saloon again. I was like, okay. I'm like, that's kind of cool. I got off my horse, went into the gunsmith. Gunsmith turns around from like looking at his check. He's like, how can I help you? Oh, it's you. You're going to cause trouble here again like you did a few days ago? And I was like, no way. I walked into the saloon. I don't know if this is part of the game. I don't know if this is what Rockstar did. I walked into the saloon. People were playing poker. I sat down at the table playing poker. 5 people got up from the poker table and left. And only one dude stayed. And he didn't make eye contact with me. And like the conversations were kept short. I went to the barber who's in the back of the saloon. The barber's like, now listen, I just want to cut your hair. Keep it straight to business. I don't want any trouble again. And it just blew my mind how much people are actually remembering me in this town. And you can interact with them. The dude that called me out as I was riding into town, I held down left trigger. I saw you can either diffuse the situation, like tell him to calm down, like I'm not going to do anything, or antagonize them, basically scaring them off, or possibly having another situation escalate to another fight. And I told him to calm down, and he told me, he's like, hey, man, look, as long as you don't do anything, I ain't going to have a problem. I just want to make sure. I rode past the sheriff's office again. There was a lawbringer sitting outside of it. He looked at me and basically said, like, he's like, I got my eye on you. You better not cause any trouble around here. I think he addressed me by my name as well, but I was riding way too fast.
Right.
And it blew me away. I was like, I can't believe that's actually a thing in this game.
Yeah.
That, like, they actually remember you. Another instance was I was riding through the wasteland. Not the wasteland. That's Fallout. I was riding through the the land and everything, and I came across this guy that got bitten by a snake, and I had two options: suck the venom out of him or give him a health potion. And the third option, of course, is they don't necessarily tell you, but you can just shoot the guy if you wanted.
Right.
I gave him a health cure. He drank the health cure. He was fine. He's like, "Thank you, mister. I don't know how I'm gonna repay you." I'm walking through a town one day, and all of a sudden he runs up behind me, taps me on the shoulder, he says, "Hey, mister, do you remember me?" And he pulls his friend aside, and he goes, "Fellas, this is the guy I was telling you about. He saved me from a snake bite by giving me a health cure." He's like, "Listen, I don't have any money, but I can repay you by giving you something in the gunsmith store for free. You can put it on my tab." I walked into the gunsmith store. I addressed the person. I got a gun for free. And it was like, wow, okay, that's kind of cool that he remembered me like that. There's just little things like that throughout the entire game. You go to any town, you cause any ruckus, or you meet somebody that's an important figure and you do anything to them, they will remember it. And it blew my mind. I'm trying to think. I'm like, is there any game on 360 that did this, even remotely close, where it wasn't like a quest had to affect that?
Right.
Where it was like, okay, this person remembers what you did because of the quest. They don't remember you like doing something stupid on your own or something beneficial just on your own terms, not doing a mission. And nothing comes to my mind. It may be out there, but this is on a whole different level that I've never seen before.
Yeah.
Something that's showing that looks like it's going to be in Cyberpunk 2077 as well, which is why I'm saying like that game could possibly take it from Red Dead. But I mean, it blew my mind from how amazing that is. Other stuff too. I mean, interacting with people like witnesses are implemented into this game. So if you kill somebody and somebody's nearby, they become a witness, and you have to try to defuse them from actually, telling the police on you. There's many ways to do that. You could just ride next to them, tell them to stop, try to calmly do it. You could point your gun in the air, start shooting. That'll scare them. They'll stop in their tracks. You go up to them, you antagonize them, rob them, make them even more scared not to mess with you, or simply just pull your gun and shoot them if you want as well.
Right.
I mean, there's just so many ways you can handle a situation in this game when it comes to the people, and it's just blown my mind so far. As for like the characters and story, this is one of the largest like casts of any video game.
Right.
Okay, hold on. Let me rephrase that. This is one of the largest Rockstar casts I've seen where they have a very main focus. By that I mean, with Rockstar games, GTA, Red Dead, there's tons of characters. You interact through them because of the missions they provide you. This is the first time that you really see them on a constant basis, because you go back to your camp and you see everybody. You see Bill Williamson, you see Dutch, you see Hosea, you see Javier, all these gang members, John Marston. You see them walking around the camp. You can interact with them. They share memories with you that they remember doing stuff with you, such as if you go rob a house with somebody in the camp, they will recall back to that house you guys robbed and talk about that situation and whatnot, or missions you've done for them. They will bring them up. One of my favorite things is that if you're just riding out there in the wasteland, they will come and find you and be like, "Hey man, look, John got himself into a little bit of trouble. I need you to help me like right now." And they will come to you and provide missions. I mean, it really makes the world feel alive, that like you get to see these people on a constant basis, as well as the whole interactivity with other people and having like people just do their own things. I mean, you go in the town and it's like you see vast people doing different tasks, like people either chopping lumber, whatever it is, and everything. I know that's nothing revolutionary, but it's amazing going to town and seeing people doing something different every time.
Yeah, one of my favorite. There was a moment, Assassin's Creed 3, and although that game was very cluttered and there were a lot of like missed opportunities with it, there was one really cool thing I remember, which was that there was the homestead, which was kind of like, Connor's like, the place that he lived. And there were a lot of animations of like the villagers in the town that were very unique and almost kind of like seemingly random. Like I remember walking by like the doctor's office and seeing two of the people who lived in the town getting excited because they found out that the woman was pregnant. And I just remember being like, wait, that's just like a little tiny thing that I would have never ever known about or never found.
The homestead was also like one of my favorite parts about that game.
Yeah, it was very. It's stuff like that. This reminds me of that. The whole Red Dead Redemption 2 stuff.
I mean, take that and you times it by like 10 is what it really is, man.
And I'm very excited because it was one thing for someone to like say it. It's another thing for you to have played it and experienced it. And so like I know that it's actually a thing. I'd be curious to see if it decreases in frequency as the game goes along.
That is what I'm worried about, to where like, because okay, that whole snake biting thing.
Yeah.
Once again, I mean, this game is amazing. Don't get me wrong here. This is a very, very minor complaint. That snake bite thing has already happened to me twice.
Okay.
I was riding through, and it was the same thing. Guy got bit by a snake. He's like, hey, you guys suck the poison out or give me a health cure. And I gave him a health cure again. And now I'm wondering, I'm like, okay, am I going to ride through town again? And he's going to be like, hey, fella, you could put it on my tab. Or he's going to offer me something new. Right. Another one of my favorite things was there was a criminal being transported. Right. And these two sheriffs were like, don't get involved. And then, like, the criminal was like, if you let me out of here, I will give you a secret worth telling. I went for it, killed the two sheriffs, shot the lock off the cage. He came out. He's like, come here. You see this town right here? And he showed on my map. He's like, this local shop has a moonshine business underneath it. Okay. Go there, rob it. He can't say a word because he's illegally making moonshine. Okay. I went there. There was actually a moonshine business. I got to rob it. Nobody knew.
That's awesome.
It's so cool. I mean, like, you could, like, the amount of just crazy little details, especially with the stranger missions and just random encounters, like the consequences or benefits you can have by either doing something good or doing something bad are just crazy. I mean, like, the one thing I've been liking so far about it too is like, if you do something good always, you're not going to get a reward. Like, I mean, yeah, your morale thing will go up. Like, people will be liking you more. Like, your morale compass meter will go towards the positive side rather than the negative. That's always going to be something you get out of the situation. But you're always not going to get a gun. You're always not going to get, like, money. So, there are situations where it's like, do you take the risk of possibly getting caught by the police to shoot them and rescue this prisoner for information? Or do you just let it be and be like, you know what? Forget that. Because let me tell you, man, bounty hunters do not mess around in this game either. When your wanted level gets up and your bounty's in like the $100 bills, $200, $300, the bounty hunters do not stop coming. I had my bounty at like 125. I was trying to do some hunting. Every single time I was about to come up on the animal that I was hunting, it ran away. And I'm like, why is it running away? And then I look at my radar and I see this red blob of dots heading towards me. I'm like, okay. They approach me and they get off their horses, like, put your hands up. And I'm like, okay, dead eye, and get into an awesome like draw with all of them. Another thing too is the draw. The draw mechanic, I think, in this game is way better than it was in the first one. All right. It's can
you still disarm people?
Yeah, you can still shoot it out of their hand, and like you'll get more honor for that rather than actually killing them. And there have been so many times I've done it, and it's like I get the idea of this one more. It's more about like you hold left trigger slightly or left L2 depending on which system you play. You hold it slowly. And you'll see Arthur's hand slowly get to the gun. And it's just mostly who can get to the gun first without drawing too quick. Because whoever draws too quick will end up losing, basically. Well, if you draw too quick, the AI will get you. Right. But if you fool them by going for it slowly and then pull it, Deadeye will activate, and then you get your shot.
Okay.
So it's mostly about timing and also watching their movement. So it's a lot easier, because I remember in Red Dead 1, it was like there was a meter you had to keep an eye on, as well as you had to aim and all this other stuff. It's like, no, it's just slowly reach for your gun, and as you're slowly reaching for it, keep an eye on them. That will tell you if you should start increasing your speed or decrease your speed. And it's just a race to who can pull the gun first, as well as not going too quick. I don't know how to explain it. It's much easier when you pick up and play it. Last thing I'll say too is that one more thing though before I get to the last thing. John Marston is amazing in this game. Okay. It is so cool actually seeing him as a secondary character, because you think back to the first game about him being this honorable cowboy, this noble man, and you see in this game, while he is that in some aspects, you're reminded that John Marston was a criminal and he did some shady, messed up things. And while he's like, him and Arthur are probably the best of the bunch, the wild bunch basically of Dutch's gang. Yeah. They're still terrible people. Yeah. It's just they are more you have more sympathy for them because they have much more weight to them than certain other characters. And it's not a critique with these characters. It's just there's certain characters like this one named Micah who is just a complete psychopath, and if you stand in his way, he'll just kill you. Same thing with Bill Williamson, where like, these are people who are heartless, while Arthur and John, they're doing this just to survive. They don't like what they do most of the time, but they realize like, hey, if I have to kill somebody to keep everybody at this camp safe, I'm going to do it. I don't care. I'll kill somebody in order to like get another can's day worth of food or money and whatnot. And it's just interesting to actually see this play out. It's interesting to actually see certain characters like Javier, who was in the first game, and had a very minor role. He was one of the people that John had to capture in Mexico. And in this game, he's like one of my favorite characters, one of my favorite side characters to interact with. And it's just like, I didn't even know he was in the first game until I was going through YouTube and saw that he's in the first game, and I watched all the cutscenes he's featured in. He's only in 2 cutscenes. And just seeing him like be a bigger character here, I was like, this is incredible. Yeah. Like, you guys are taking these minor characters from the first game. If anything, by the end of Red Dead 2, it's going to make me go back and play Red Dead 1 again, because I can't wait to see, like, these characters that, I might have not thought anything of, like Javier and maybe certain other gang members or just names in passing. I might not thought anything of them, but there's going to be so much more context to them now. This is like a prequel done right in my eyes as well.
Okay.
Other little things, gameplay mechanics are great. The shooting feels good. Rockstar games, to me, other than Max Payne 3, have always had trouble with their aiming systems.
Right.
This time around, it's fine for what it is. Okay. I thought it could have been better. I wish they kind of went with Max Payne's aiming system. I think that would have been much better. But it's fine. It does its job. The one thing I've been liking a lot more is that stealth is actually a thing in this game. So you can actually take down people silently and rob a whole train quietly if you can pull it off with throwing knives, tomahawks, or just stabbing people in the back quietly. I've always been wanting that to be in Rockstar games, and it's like, I thought we would get in GTA 5 so you could put silencers on guns, but it's barely implemented. Here, they really use it in the open world stuff. Last thing is that, I mean, there's so much to do in this game, and it's very realistic to where now, like, you can lose your horse, and you will either have to put it down or give it a cure. Or if you're too far away from your horse, if you whistle, it won't come for you. You have to build a bond with your horse in order for it to grow the distance it will hear your whistle. But like, so I ran into an instance the first night I was playing it where I kind of went off on my own into the woods. I left my horse somewhere. And then I got attacked by a bear and a pack of wolves. So I kind of really got separated from my horse. And I also tested out the water physics. I'm like, I wonder if I would have jumped into these rapids, if I will actually go down the river. And I did that, and I ended up like going way too far because the river just took me far away. Lord. So I whistled for my horse and learned that, if you're too far away, it won't come for you. There's a lot of realism to this game. And the biggest critique I have with it is that the realism hasn't bothered me at all. But Red Dead 2 to me is a game where it's like, it's not made to be pick up and play for like 15 minutes. You have to make sure, I would say you need at least a good hour and a half if you want to play Red Dead 2 and get really something out of it, maybe even 2 hours. Because if you try to pick it up and play for 15 minutes, you probably won't get anywhere because, you're riding to a mission or something, or you're riding somewhere. And then by the time you get to the mission, you might have to turn off your console. This game is made like, hey, I have an hour and a half to myself today. I got an hour before class, whatever it may be. You need like a long period of time in order for this to really pay off. Because there is so much to do in this game, and the amount of realism that goes into it as well. Like, once again, you can't call your horse and everything. It's stuff like that that's going to make you just like, the longer you play it, the more you're going to appreciate it. And the longer you have a play session, the more you're going to appreciate this kind of stuff too. It's very cinematic. That instance where I got separated from my horse, one thing I'll say is like, while that might be annoying and you might be like, oh, if I'm too far away from my horse, that's going to get annoying because I have to walk through this open world trying to get back to my horse. Here's the thing. I randomly encountered the Ku Klux Klan. And it was probably one of my favorite moments of the game so far is encountering them. And it's just like, if you get separated from your horse, you're just going to run into crazy stuff like that because you have to walk all the way back, and you're going to stumble upon some of the craziest things in the game.
Right.
And the game will keep you entertained as you're trying to get back to your horse. And hell, if you're one of those people that's like, no, I'm sorry, I just want to get to my horse and go. If you upgrade your camp, you can unlock fast travel. You can just fast travel somewhere, and then you can get your horse back.
Okay.
I mean, just so far, it's been a fantastic game. We'll go more into detail with our actual review. And when you get to play it and Chris is here.
I'm very excited.
I mean, thus far, though, I everybody's been saying go get it. I'm on that train as well. Go get this game. It is fantastic. I've been loving every single minute of it. It's been amazing, and we might do a stream of it. I don't know. I might have, if I'm free sometime soon, I might have you guys come over to my room and we'll stream it in my room, and just like I'll show you guys some of the mechanics, and we'll just do free roam. I don't want to do any story things. I don't want to ruin anything for you guys.
All right.
Yeah. Other than that, that's about it. If I had to give it a grade right now, it's an A+. I'm only on chapter 3, and the game is 60 hours long. If I had to put like a time I'm in, I would say I'm like 7 to 8 hours in, maybe even 9. And it's an A+ for me thus far. I think it's amazing. It has raised the bar, without a doubt. It has raised the bar for open world games and just video games in general. Like, man, like, I don't know. Like, the best part about this too is that I look at this game and it's like, the next GTA can't do any of this. This only works in Red Dead. This whole system of people remembering who you are only works in Red Dead because of the small towns and saloons and everything. It's not going to work in GTA when it's a big sprawling city like New York City. That, like, what are the odds of you running into the same people over and over again in New York City, Miami, LA, whatever the next one will take place at? I don't see it working there. There's also survival mechanics and everything that's like, I can't see that working in a GTA game as well. I love the first Red Dead, don't get me wrong. But it is very much like when people say, yeah, it's basically a Wild West GTA. You can totally see that comparison. Yeah. Red Dead 2 is its own thing. It has enough mechanics. It has enough things going on that GTA won't be able to do, Max Payne won't be able to do, no other Rockstar game will be able to do, that it's its own thing. And I really love it for that, and it's the thing that has impressed me the most, that they took a game franchise that they kind of tested the waters with it, like, hey, let's try to bring Wild West video games back by making like a Grand Theft Auto sort of Wild West game, and then taking that and with the next sequel, amplifying it to like something we've never seen before in games, or just on a level that we haven't seen before in games.
Right.
So I've been loving it, and I can't wait till you get it, because I can't wait to hear some of your stories.
I'm excited. I'm excited too. Sorry, I wasn't very talkative. I was getting messages from my family.
Anyways, we're gonna wrap it up here. Thank you for tuning in once again. As always, you can find us on Twitter at VarietyViso. Highlights are posted on YouTube, as well as the whole full-length episodes. Keep it locked here. You'll see news from us coming shortly. The social media will be a lot more active once we're live and we start doing a lot more. We're just trying to get the footing of, like, recording stuff and everything. We're slowly building our way towards what I really want to start doing with the channel. And hopefully Chris can finish those damn blogs that he keeps talking about.
Yeah, I'm excited for those. You get to watch us do food reviews. Yeah. You get to watch me eat Taco Bell for the first time.
Every time I bring him up, he's like, yeah, I'm almost done with them. I'm like, well, hurry up.
Yeah.
God, I'm able to edit a whole episode in one night. What do you do, Chris? What do you got, like school going on or something? I'm kidding. I love you, Chris. Don't get me wrong.
Oh man, I miss Chris.
Yeah,
but
too bad we lost him in the war.
And here's the thing: we're all very talkative people. With him gone, I was able to talk a lot more this time.
Right? Yeah. We'll work on balancing issues with that. But yeah, keep it locked here. We'll see you next time for When the Night Comes for Us in Bohemian Rhapsody. There we go. Have a great day.